Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming. My name is Laura Sanchez. I am the legal director for the Central American Resource Center, CARECEN. CARECEN is a community partner of two of the lead collaborations here in San Francisco, the San Francisco Immigrant Legal Education Network and the San Francisco Immigrant Legal Defense Collaborative. Welcome to today's press conference and welcome to CARECEN. Today, the City of San Francisco is once again coming together to show that we will protect and defend all of our residents. As long as inhumane immigration policies are being implemented and constitutional rights are being violated, we are going to demand and seek justice. The commitment being made today by the city will provide much needed resources as we face an increase in ICE enforcement activity. So with that said, because I don't like to talk much in front of people, it is my pleasure and my honor to introduce San Francisco Mayor Mark Farrell. Thank you.
So thank you, Laura, and for the CARECEN staff for hosting us here today. It is an honor to be here. And I want to thank a number of people before we really get started. First of all, the San Francisco Immigrant Legal and Education Network, and the San Francisco Immigrant Legal Defense Collaborative. Thank you for all of your hard work. Thank you to make sure that everybody has legal representation in our court system, in our immigrant court system here in San Francisco and in Northern California. I want to thank a number of people behind me. First of all, to my colleagues, to Sandy Fewer and to Hillary Ronan for your hard work and support and partnership on this. To our police chief, Bill Scott, for leading a department that is integral in protecting our residents here in San Francisco. To our public defender, Jeff Adachi, thank you very much for being here. And to our staff attorney, Francisco Ugarte, thank you for being here. And finally, I do want to say a huge thank you to our Sacramento delegation that represents San Francisco, to Senator Scott Wiener, to Assemblyman David Hsu, and in particular, thanks to Assemblyman Phil Ting. Unfortunately, Assemblymember Ting cannot be here today with some conflicts up in Sacramento, but he has been instrumental in this process and his entire budget team. And we are once again here proud to state that we are not only a sanctuary city here in the city of San Francisco, but a sanctuary state here in the state of California. And we are proud to be both. You know, here in San Francisco, we have to be, and we always will be, a supporter of our immigrant community. It is part of our DNA. It is who we are. We are a sanctuary city, and we always will be. Our immigrant community makes our city more diverse. It makes our city more safe, and we are here to protect them. It's no secret that our city, like many others across our country, is facing incredible pressures from the policies coming out of our federal administration in Washington, D.C. The president has based his campaign and his political platform on hate and distrust. And it's something as San Francisco residents, we will simply not stand for. We will stand up for our communities, no matter who they are here in San Francisco, and we will always uphold our values in San Francisco. Just this week, we know that ICE detained 150 different individuals across the Bay Area. Families were ripped apart. Lives were shattered here in our Bay Area. And I am here to reassure all San Francisco residents, especially our immigrant community, that we are here to support you. You are an integral part of our city, and you are not forgotten. You are at the forefront of our minds. It's why when I first took office, I sat down with our immigrant service providers inside of City Hall, advocates, to hear directly from them what we could do to help in San Francisco and inside of City Hall. And one of the things that I heard loud and clear was from our immigrant community was around representation in our courts. It is something that is integral. Having gone down yesterday to the immigrant court down on Sansom and to see what was happening in front, thank you to all the people that were there protesting what was happening inside of the building. And thank you again to our attorneys here in San Francisco that fight to represent those individuals that are in our court system. Again, to our public defender, Jeff Adachi, and his entire team, who are not at times even given access. It is unbelievable what is happening here in San Francisco, and we do have, I think, not only the right, but the moral obligation to stand up. So that is why we are partnering here today, and very proud to announce that at the state level, we are partnering with Assemblyman Phil Ting to ask for $7 million in funding every single year. That will be enough to provide representation to every single immigrant in our immigrant courts here in Northern California. And very proud that we are taking equal action here at the local level in partnership with Supervisor Fewer, who really kickstarted this process, and Supervisor Ronan, who has been such an advocate for our immigrant communities here in San Francisco. We will be providing an additional $2.5 million for the next 2 years for our community nonprofits here in San Francisco that do really the day-to-day, incredibly hard work working with our immigrant communities on the ground. They are the touch points. They are the ones that make it happen here on our streets to make sure that they have the resources that they need as we continue to work against and to fight against the policies that are coming out of Washington, D.C. Let's be clear, these are extraordinary times. This is not normal here in San Francisco. This is not normal across our country. What we are facing, what we are witnessing on our streets every single day is extraordinary, and it is only intensified here in 2018. And so as a result, we here in San Francisco will intensify our efforts right back. And I am proud to be here. You know, it is amazing. You hear about the real life examples of people and their lives that have been impacted. These are our neighbors. These are our family members. These are our friends. These are real life stories of people being impacted every single day here in San Francisco. We're talking about families who have fled gun violence and gang violence in El Salvador. We're talking about parents who came from Mexico more than 20 years to start a family. Families that are truly being torn apart right now. We are a country, we are a city of immigrants, and we will always stand by our community. This, to me, and what we're here to celebrate today, is what San Francisco is all about. I want to repeat that. This is what San Francisco is all about. We will stand by every one of our communities here in our city. It is what our country is all about, despite what we hear from Washington, D.C. It is what the country we believe in here in San Francisco is all about. We can and we will keep families together in San Francisco. We will stand by our immigrant communities because it is not only the right thing to do, it is the San Francisco thing to do. So I want to thank you all for being here today. I am incredibly excited and proud at all of the hard work that has gone into this over the past few weeks. And I want to introduce someone who really kickstarted the conversation and has been a fierce advocate for immigrant communities here in San Francisco and deserves a ton of credit for what we are accomplishing here today, and that is Supervisor Fewer.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that introduction, Mayor Farrell. I am thrilled to stand here today alongside my colleague, Supervisor Hillary Ronan, and Mayor Mark Farrell to announce funding for universal immigrant representation in San Francisco. Today we announce that San Francisco is putting our money where our values are and leading the nation once again in standing arm in arm with our immigrant communities. Today we announce that together with our state partners, particularly Assemblymember Phil Ting, we are taking a clear stand against Trump's harassment and targeting of immigrant residents in our city and state. The urgency of this funding is clear, as ICE has ramped up their activities through mass arrests in the last week, a continuation of their attacks on our immigrant communities. Our legislation to provide this funding made it out of Budget Committee this morning unanimously, and I look forward to celebrating a unanimous vote on this issue at the full board. I want to give a huge word of thanks to our mayor, Mayor Farrell. When he took the oath of office as mayor, he said, I will represent all San Franciscans. And clearly, he is good on his word here. That he, from the very beginning of discussions that we had, Supervisor Ronan and I had with the mayor, he has always said, this is something that we need to do. It's San Francisco values, and I think you heard today that it's a San Francisco thing to do, but it is, more importantly, the right thing to do. So I want to thank our mayor for his commitment and to our immigrant communities. He knows it is not enough to just say that we stand for a sanctuary city and our immigrant communities. We need to put money behind it, and we have this opportunity now to provide a lifeline for these communities, for our immigrants, a lifeline to freedom, to liberty, to human and civil rights. So I also want to thank, of course, his staff for their hard work on this issue also, and a huge thanks to my colleague, Supervisor Hillary Ronan, for her passion. She has dedicated her whole life's career to immigrant rights, and I couldn't have learned from a better mentor. And also her tenacity to get this through, and her tenacity to always fight for what is right, in particular for our immigrant communities. And I want to thank my co-sponsors, Supervisor Sheehy, Peskin, Kim, and Yee, for their support. A huge thanks to our public defender, Jeff Adachi, Francisco Ugarte, and the Public Defender's Office, and all members of their immigration unit for their dedication in providing representation to immigrants detained through San Francisco Immigration Court. And finally, a huge thanks to the community providers and advocates who have been at the forefront of the fight for immigrant rights and protections for decades, and who are every day providing these critical services for our immigrant residents. Today, we celebrate. Tomorrow, we continue to fight to defend our immigrant communities against attacks from Trump and ICE. Thank you very much.
Hi, good morning. My name is Vantika Shastri, and I'm the legal director of the San Francisco Immigrant Legal Defense Collaborative. I'm from the Justice and Diversity Center of the Bar Association of San Francisco, which is a proud partner of the SFILDC. Together, the San Francisco Immigrant Legal and Education Network, SFILN, and the San Francisco Immigrant Legal Defense Collaborative consists of 21 community-based organizations here in San Francisco. Our collaboratives are proud to be here today standing with the mayor, the supervisors, and the San Francisco Public Defender's Office in defense of San Francisco. Our organizations have long been at the front lines of defending the legal rights of our immigrant communities, and we are ready to continue fighting. SFILN was here on the front lines in 2008 when ICE first carried out raids on the Palazzo Taquerias here in San Francisco. That was when the San Francisco Rapid Response Network started. There were no organized hotlines or process at that time. That network was created on the sheer will and dedication of the community members and advocates, many of them here today, who just would not let a single member of our community be removed without due process. The San Francisco Immigrant Legal Defense Collaborative was on the front lines in 2015 when hundreds of thousands of children fleeing violence in Central America came to the United States border seeking protection, but instead were put into removal proceedings to send them back as soon as possible. We rushed to the San Francisco Immigration Court every day so that no child would appear before a judge and a prosecutor without an immigration attorney and advocate on their side. In the past year, we've expanded the Rapid Response Network to be a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week, 365-day-a-year multilingual hotline to respond to ICE arrests. This year alone, SFILN and SFILDC have responded to over 800 calls for information and representation. In the past year, SFILN has educated hundreds of community members throughout the city so that all of us understand our rights and are prepared to fight ICE with power, not panic. SFILDC also continues to be in court every day to defend the legal rights of our community members. Our cases now include over 700 non-detained and detained community members facing deportation. And when we fight to ensure that each person's rights and dignity are respected. Our partners are thankful to work in a city that also believes in the value of our immigrant communities and in due process. We thank the mayor and the supervisors for giving us more resources to sustain and expand our work. And we look forward to fighting alongside all of our city and nonprofit partners to protect our community members. Thank you very much. And I'd now like to introduce Anna Herrera, the managing attorney at Dolores Street Community Services.